Alright, so this is part 2 of my previous video. Go back and watch part 1 if you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's move on here. So, Alex Smith then, I was talking about these 31s at the end of the last video, but Alex Smith played for the Utah Utes. Interesting, they only made 2 BCS football games ever, and it was the one that Alex Smith was in, the 2005 Fiesta Bowl. I talked about that one. But also, it was the 2009 Sugar Bowl. And in this one, they won 31-17 and beat Alabama. Just found that kind of interesting. And I'll actually come back to this again as well, because it ties into the Chiefs once again. But I'm trying to organize it, and there's a lot to go with it. But also, the Utah Utes football coach is this guy. He's in his 11th year, Alex Smith, number 11, also in his 11th year in the NFL. This guy even, age 56. Also the Fiesta Bowl, right? So Alex Smith won the Fiesta Bowl with the Utah Utes. It actually began in 1971. Remember, Super Bowl 50 adds up to 71. Moses, 71. I never pointed out either, Utah adds up to 50, just like Chiefs, just like Week 16 when the Chiefs made the playoffs or whatever. Also, Super Bowl 50. But Utah Utes adds up to 115, kind of like 11-5 the Chiefs are right now going into the playoffs. Just Utes adds up to 65, just like Philadelphia. So, anyway, Utah is not necessarily a Mormon school, but a lot of Mormons do attend there. There's also BYU that I talked a lot about in the beginning of the Nebraska season. Anyway, that's where, so Alex Smith is from here. Smith, I don't know if he's Mormon or not, but interesting, University of Utah is even located on 40 degrees north, 111 degrees west. Alex Smith adds up to 111. But the school was founded by Brigham Young. I mean, interesting. This guy had 56 children, even. 56 children. Interesting number of children to have. It also says he had many nicknames, among the most popular being American Moses, or the modern Moses. So, I mean, just interesting. It would be perfect for Alex Smith to make the Super Bowl that adds up to 71, just like Moses. Also, the Book of Mormon has 239 chapters. We're in the 239th year of the United States. And I've made a lot of videos on Mormonism or whatever this year. Even Joseph Smith was allowed to take the plates on 9/22, the same day that Pope Francis came to the United States. Also, if you convert it Gregorian to Julian, it's the same day that Queen Elizabeth became the longest reigning British monarch of all time. Also, I forgot to mention about this 2005 Fiesta Bowl that Alex Smith was in. It was the 34th edition of the Fiesta Bowl. I think I mentioned that, but they beat the Pittsburgh Panthers. Interesting because the Kansas City Chiefs, their season started off terrible. They won the first game, then they lost 5 in a row, and then they've had a 10-game winning streak that started off beating Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh in Gematria adds up to 50. Also, Pittsburgh is the Pittsburgh Panthers. So interesting, we have the Carolina Panthers. Who knows? Maybe that's a sign that it's going to be the Chiefs versus the Panthers. A few other things I find interesting is that, Alex Smith in this game completed 29 of 37 passes. 29 adds up to 50 as well. Also, his go-to guy in this game was Paris Warren. So just interesting, the 56 connection with Paris, France, and whatnot. Paris Warren was the go-to guy in the Fiesta Bowl. Also, before I get too much further, I want to point out the Super Bowl is played in the San Francisco 49ers Stadium, San Francisco. The small way adds up to 50. Super Bowl 50. So I'll come back to this guy as well. This is the Kansas City Chiefs coach. But I need to build it up so it'll make more sense. But I just want to point out that he played college football at BYU. He also just so happens to be a Mormon then. So just interesting. It goes along with what I was talking about. Interesting too, his oldest son Garrett was found dead on 8/5/2012 in his training room, or in his room at training camp at Lehigh University that was established in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Just interesting. And it was established in 1865, the same year that the Civil War ended. And 8/5 has just been super significant. You even had the theater shooting that was on 8/5 this year. Tons of stuff dealing with earthquakes. I talked about East Coast earthquake in Philadelphia. This guy was even born in the year 58, the mirror of 85. But he also was the former, before he came to the Chiefs, he was the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And he became the coach on 1/11/1999. So another 111 reference that all stems back to the Kansas City Royals. And then Chip Kelly, the guy who just got fired, was the guy who replaced him. But like I said, I'll come back to him in a second. So in week 5 this year, the Chiefs lost their star running back, Jamal Charles. Interesting. Charles dealt a lot with the Paris attacks again, tying into 56. Charlie Sheen came out and said he had HIV. The Peanuts movie, Charlie Brown, was just released. It all ties back into Prince Charles, maybe. But anyway, Jamal Charles, look when he was born. December 27th, 1986. Interesting day, because that is December 27th is the day that the Chiefs beat the Browns to qualify for the playoffs. But I mean, he wears number 25, and he's age 29. And look at the gematria. 29 and 25 both add up to the exact same things. 29 adds up to 50, like Chiefs, like Super Bowl, Super Bowl 50, also 149. And 25 adds up to 50, and also 149, the big way. Interesting, because that all ties into Skull and Bones. I mentioned this before. Every president that has been assassinated, the death tied into the Skull and Bone Society. Interesting, he got hurt in week 5. Week 5 adds up to 41, just like his name. Jamal Charles adds up to 41. Skull and Bones, the small way, adds up to 41. Here's the 149, the big way. Week 5 also adds up to 86. He was born in the year 86. It also sticks out to me that they lost to the Chicago Bears when Jamal Charles got hurt. The Chicago Bears are the ones who won the Super Bowl after the Royals won the World Series in 1985. The Bears won the Super Bowl in 1986. They were using the new revolutionary 46 defense. They scored 46 points in this game. Chicago in gematria even adds up to 46. Interesting that Levi's Stadium, where the Super Bowl was played this year, adds up to 46. Also, it's the Chiefs last won the Super Bowl in 1970, which, if they win again this year, it will be 46 years after the last time that they've won a Super Bowl. And if you go back and watch my previous series of videos here on YouTube, I just talked about the firing of Chip Kelly and how it tied into the duck theme and whatnot. Obama is a lame duck. Lame duck even adds up to 34. Interesting. I've talked about the assassination of Obama, whatever, but interesting. This guy was the defensive coordinator on the Chicago Bears that year. He's also later became the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. He did the same type of things that Chip Kelly did before he got fired or whatever, traded away good players and whatnot. He's even born in the year 34. But just wanted to point that out. You can go back and check my other video. I don't want to make a whole nother video on it. And also, this was in 1986. Remember, Jamal Charles got hurt in Week 5. Week 5 adds up to 86. Another thing that stuck out to me was this was played in the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. But before they played in the Superdome, they used to play in Tulane Stadium. And that's where the Sugar Bowl used to be played, right? And Utah, the only BCS games they went to is the Fiesta Bowl with Alex Smith and then the 2009 Sugar Bowl. And I'll talk about that here in a second. Just want to show you the gematria here. New Orleans, Louisiana adds up to 83, just like the word football. Jamal Charles went out with a torn ACL. Torn ACL also adds up to 83 and 29, just like the word football. Interesting, the Chiefs were also in Super Bowl 1, and it was on January 15th of 67, adds up to 83. They even lost to the Packers by 25 points. 25 adds up to 50. Another thing that sticks out to me is this guy here, Eric Berry. He was diagnosed with cancer, and he came back this year to play for the Chiefs again. Interesting look, he's number 29. 29 adds up to 50. So Jamal Charles has the ties to 29. This guy, number 29, comes back. I mean, just interesting stuff here. Also, the Chiefs play the Texans for the first game of the playoffs here. They also play the Texans the very first game of the season. What really sticks out to me is that this game on 1/9 is exactly 29 days before the Super Bowl. Also, the Chiefs used to be the Dallas Texans before they turned into the Kansas City Chiefs. Also interesting to point out, this game was played on September 13th, which is like 13-9 or 9-13, 139. Freemasonry adds up to 139. So, who knows? Also, so this game is on 1/9. 19, the 19th prime number is 67, which just reminds me again of the first Super Bowl that happened in 1967. That was the Packers versus the Chiefs. Also, Super Bowl I, if you just read it like that, Super Bowl I adds up to 50. So interesting, the Chiefs would have been in it, right? Also, Texans adds up to 83. So, just like football, I mean, but Houston adds up to 31. So, maybe they are coding the Chiefs just to lose and stop at their 30, or Alex Smith's 31 wins. Maybe they're going to lose to Houston and he's going to still have 31 wins. Possibility. There's just so much coding, so. And another reason I say that is because the Chiefs lost to the Broncos in Week 2, and the Broncos scored 31 points. So in this game, a lot of interesting things happened, though. The Broncos came down and scored, and they made the score 24-24. The word 24 in gematria adds up to 50. Also, right after that, then they kicked it off, and Jamal Charles fumbled the ball, and the Broncos picked it up and ran it in for a touchdown. Ended up winning 31-24. But, so they scored 2 touchdowns in 9 seconds, kind of like 29. That also adds up to 50. But, what sticks out to me is that there was 27 seconds left when this happened. The Super Bowl is on 2/7 this year, February 7th. Also, at the end of the game, the Chiefs ran 2 plays for 7 yards in that 27 seconds. So I think they lost this on purpose, but they were still supposed to go to the Super Bowl. They even became 1-1 after that. Remember, Alex Smith, number 11, 11th pick in the draft. They even finished with the 24 points, the 24 signaling the 50. And I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to make a part 3, so I will see you in part 3.